Okay. So we are going to talk about how do we get organized with our final logos once we have our final logo and putting them into a library.
All
So to
right,
get to the,
so
yes,
can I
Jacob.
make a new Illustrator file for this?
Right, you're going to be an Illustrator, which is where you built your brand. All of us should have built our brands in Illustrator. And things like all of the type should be changed to outlines. There should be no typefaces. Everything that is in your design for the type should be outlined. And
Uh,
then your mark should, of course, all be vector art.
uh,
Um, and
So,
then once,
do I
yes,
pick a size? Do I pick a size for my Illustrator file, like 11 by 17?
well, you can work from any size. What you're going to see, what I do is I make my artboard the size of my logo. So notice that once I have a logo, I'm going to make my artboard the size of my logo. So, for example, I can pull this guy out and put it down here, and then say window. I can create an artboard. Create an artboard. It's going to make one matching what I have because that's just the way Illustrator works. I can take this logo and select it on that artboard and then go over to object and say artboards, fit artwork, fit artwork to, oops, undo. I have to be on this artboard. Okay, so I'm on the artboard. I put this logo on the artboard and then I can say object, artboards, fit to artwork bounds. Oh, it's somehow grabbing that other artwork for some reason. I don't know why it's doing that. Where are my tools? That happens. I'm just too close to the other one. So now I can see it's it was grabbing both pieces of artwork versus just the one. So here, I just manually fixed it. But you can ultimately be here and I can say object, artboard, fit to artwork bound. Oh, it's still going to the other one for some reason. Why is it doing that?
All right, so how do I access the library?
The library is under window library.
All right, no. Okay, found it.
Good. All right. So anyway, so obviously you would make each one to its own thing. So let's say you want to add a logo to the library. Here's a logo. I already have it in my library, but let's say I decide to add another one. All you literally do is take it, drag it, and pop it into the library. So there, now you can see I have two, and it just adds it in. So it's just clicking your logo and dragging it into the library. Now you don't want to add it to your library until you're sure it's final and everything is final. But once it is, you can do that. And I can double click and see it, and then there it is. So I can see each one of my variations of this logo are in the library. Now, so ultimately, you're going to want to do all of your variations of your logo, your different options. So, for example, like you'll see, I have a stacked. This is my stacked, right? This is my horizontal. This is a badge. I have a badge as well for this design. So there's a badge, a horizontal, a stacked, and then I also have some that are without CMAS or without the mark at all, just Delta Boy. Um, I have them both positive. So let's look at the difference. Here's a positive. That means it's on a white background. And then I have it in inverted, so it'll go on a dark background. Now, it's not automatically on a dark background because the idea is that I would create the dark background and apply it to a dark background. So I don't put it automatically on a dark background. I keep it blank. So let's say I make black here and I go to object, arrange, send to back. There. So there my design would work. Oopsie. On a dark background, which is what that particular one is designed to do. But the way I save it in my library isn't with the background. I save it just in the white or cream. Mine happens to be cream versus white, and it's saved that way so I can apply it to a dark background. Okay. I also had some examples of these are old, so they're not even used, but some label background, label ideas, which I don't even use, so it doesn't really matter. That you can see things are bitmaps. I don't have all the things aligning for it because I'm not using it. And then I had some swatch group colors before, and these are just artwork. And I can click and pull them. Hold on a minute. Go into window, artboards. Make a new artboard, okay. Why am I? There we go. I'm having my Illustrator's acting up a little bit. So this is just an image of colors. This is before I actually, built my color swatches. So you can do this as just artwork like I did to start my colors. And then once I have my colors figured out, and these are just like I said, images, I need to go in and actually make a color group. So let's talk about that. So these are just two images of colors that I've pulled together. And I knew I wanted to actually make a color group. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my eyedropper tool and make a color swatch of the first color. So here's my first color, and I'm going to say, actually, I'm going to do it from these first. These are my primaries and these are my secondaries. So I'm going to start here with my primary blue-green. And I'm going to say color swatch. I'm going to say, okay. And I'm going to go over here. You're going to see it in the swatches, and I'm going to I'm going to grab a new swatch group, a new folder, and I'm going to call it Delta Boy Primary and say, okay. And so I'm going to take the swatch and plop it right into the folder I just made. Did you guys see that? So the folder is here, and I just added this one. I'm now going to go here, and I'm going to click on the color swatch and bring it down to this folder. And I'm going to click on the cream and bring it down to this folder. So now I've added these three files, these three colors to a folder called Delta Boy Primary. And I can add all of the colors in here, or I could do a second grouping for Delta Boy Secondary. And I think I'm going to do it as two groups. So let's do this one. Here's my darkest one. I'm going to pull that into its new folder. The middle color, pull it into its new folder. The orange, which is my accent color, bring that over here. Okay, so now I have these two color folders of my of my primary and my secondary colors. Now we can, through Illustrator, get our color callouts. And so, oops, I don't need to make another one. Cancel that. I just have to remember where it says it. So here we are in the swatches. And this is a brand new feature. You have to have them in a group. And then it will give us the I don't want a pattern. Is it in here? Swatch group options. Cancel, no. I'm just looking at where it is. Spot colors. Nope. Add swatches to my current library. So I want to add them to my library. So I'm going to click and add them to my library. So now they're down here in Delta Primary. And I'm going to grab these, add them to my library. Oops. Add them to my library. So now I have them in my library as swatches. But I want to do the call outs, and I just got to remember where that is. This is a new feature. Not recolor. Let me do a quick help and let's see if we can find it. Color calls. Color. Come on, why isn't it typing? Document. Oh, I wonder if it's document. Wait. Document color mode. Okay, so file, document color mode. CMYK. That's not it. That is not what I'm looking for. Let's go back. Oh, I'm gonna have to Google it and find it. I thought it was in the color swatch folder and it's not. Has anyone tried this feature yet? It's just added, but it's such an awesome thing, but I'm not seeing the call out feature. I feel like it would be an edit. Oh, you found a YouTube tutorial. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. All right, let's watch it together and see if we can figure it out together because I feel like this is such a handy thing. I have a plugin to use that I paid for, and to avoid that, this is actually a very cool thing. Can you guys see the screen? Let's see if I can share the computer sound. Or let's see what he says.
If you're a web designer, here are 4 Wix Studio features you gotta know. So first, in this video, we're talking about 10 up.
Nope.
In the November 2024 release of Illustrator, we got a nice new feature that allows us to generate these nice color information cards. So let's see how this feature works. I've downloaded this artwork from the link in the description, and let's open the swatches panel by going.
I'm going to zoom ahead because we've already made our color groups. I know you have to make a color group.
And click Add Selected Colors.
Yeah, we've already made our color group.
So now you can deselect the artwork and let's select the swatches that we want to create cards from. So click on the first swatch. I'm going to skip all of these and start with the green swatch. Hold down Shift and click on the last one. Now that all the swatches menu and choose Create Swatch Info. That's the new feature. This box. That's the new feature. This box will pop up. And choose swatches are selected. Open the panels menu and choose Create Swatch Info. Swatches. So click here to open the panels menu. Click.
Okay, hold on. Let's try it. Open the panels menu, create swatch menu. Okay, got it. Let's go back to Illustrator. Open the panels menu. Panels menu. Panels menu. What does he mean, the panels menu?
That thing is in the swatches tab.
Yeah, if you go under your swatches,
Okay,
you select the swatches you want to use.
right, which I did.
Okay, and then
What's the
there's an
panels menu?
option No, under the swatches panel.
Swatch info. There it is. Create swatch. I see it.
Yes.
Create swatch info. I thought it was in the swatches. That's why I was confused by it. Okay, perfect. So the thing that's cool about this is you can choose what codes you want. So we don't need all of these, but a lot of them we do want. So we want the hex code. We don't need the HSB. The RGB is good. The CMYK we want. Show the color name. Sure, especially if we've named it. Show the card background and show the ink type. That's fine. You can lay them out stacking or in a row. I would go horizontal, makes it nicer, like a palette. And then you can also determine how big it is. It's coming in at 10 pixels or spacing between each thing, right? So I'm going to leave it at the basic. You can also create the size of the card. So this is a 1.3. I don't know why it's 1.3. I'm going to go and make it an even number because I like even numbers. I'm going to make it 1.5. I just like even numbers. And you can even choose the color of your text. So let's go ahead and say create. Let's zoom it out. And look at this, you guys. There are my cards for these colors. Isn't that great? So now I have my colors showing, the RGB, the hex color, the CMYK color, the ink process. Now, it gave me a name of RGB because I asked for the name. I don't really want to use RGB as a name because I'm creating a brand. So I'm going to want to actually go into here and I'm going to use my type tool. And I'm going to name this like Delta Green, right? And I'm going to name this color. Again, you're going to give them brand names based on your brand. And I'm going to call this Deep Green. And I'm going to be, this is going to be, I got to grab my type tool, click on this and go Delta Cream. And so now I've given each one of my colors their own name, and then there's all my callouts. And then I have these guys here that I am going to add to, you got it, my library. So now, boom, there it is. And I'm going to name it Primary Colors. And I'm going to have those that I can bring into InDesign when I'm in InDesign. And they're ready to go. So let's do it again. Thank you, Joe, for finding it because I knew it was in the color swatches and I don't know why I wasn't seeing it. So thank you. I appreciate it. Whenever there's a new feature, I'm like, this one though is awesome. We used to have to go and research and by hand do all things that took a second. It would take this would have taken me probably 15 minutes to do by hand because I'm having to look it up, write all the numbers, make the little card. I mean, my gosh, what a deal. Okay. So here we go. Let's do it one more time. So here I've got my group. You do have to have them in a color group. So I've selected my Delta Boy secondary colors group. I'm clicking on the menu in the swatches menu and I'm saying, create swatch info. There it is. Again, it's keeping my size. I made it 1.5 inches. The text color black. I'm doing it horizontally organized. And I'm going to say, okay. And there it is. And I'm going to move this over. And here's my secondary color palette. And let's zoom in on it. Again, it still has just an RGB name. No worries. I'm going to go ahead and type in my name that I want to give it. So this is Deep Dive. And this is going to be Boy Blue. And this is going to be Coral. Okay. So here are my names. I'm going to once again take and select my secondary colors, drag them onto my library. And now I've added, and it's giving it a name called Artwork 19. I'm calling this secondary color path. And I can even call it call outs because this is what I'm going to use in my brand book. All right. And so this is a brand spanking new feature that just came out in November. Awesome, awesome. Probably like my favorite new feature that Illustrator has come out with. It is awesome. Huge time saver. All right, so that is it. Thanks. So try it. Take a minute here, and I want you guys to try that. And I want to see you guys try putting your logo in a library. So you're going to create a library. One thing I didn't talk you through is I have a ton of libraries. I am a huge, huge, huge library user. I love this feature. Love, love, love the library feature. All you do is you open up your libraries panel here in a window, and then it says create new library. You name that library your brand name, right? So you name it whatever your brand name is. So I have a new one I'm going to be creating. I'll make my new one. It's called Whistling Straits. That's my new one. So I'm going to say create. And then I can start putting my graphics and my elements that I'm putting in for that. So, and start putting the logos in that I have for that in here. And so that you can add your logos, your color palette, your type styles, and you can just add them in the two ways where you can do it like we shared. Let me go back to Delta Boy. So like you saw, I can add I'm in the swatches library, and there's a little button down here. It says add swatches and swatch groups to my current library. So you want to be in the current library, and then it'll automatically add those. And I've already done it, so I'm not going to do it again. But then you can see them there. So the other thing you're seeing is I can create type styles, and this is like a drop cap. This is actually, I think, a mistake. This is probably from something else. I didn't mean to put that in there. And sometimes you might have things in here you don't want. But overall, it stays pretty straightforward. And so in Illustrator, while we're in Illustrator, that is what we're going to do. We're going to build our color palettes. So this is going to be the number one thing. And then the next thing I want to do while I'm still in Illustrator before I go over to InDesign. So basically, I want to set myself up so I have everything I need when I go into InDesign ready to go. So all my logo variations need to be in Illustrator. My color palettes need to be, in Library. My color palettes need to be in the library. You want to do your color callouts because this is done in Illustrator, not in InDesign. So put those together here in Illustrator. And then I'm going to take and do a safe area design. So first of all, I want to make sure my artboard is a size that I can use. I don't know what size these artboards are. What size? My settings are kind of wonky. Let me fix my settings here. Inches. Yeah, I want everything in inches. Guides. Okay. Okay. Where's my ruler? It doesn't look like. Yeah, it is in pixels. Isn't it? Okay, so I just made it an 8.5, 11 because I don't need those anymore. Just to show you, so here's, for example, an 8.5, 11 page. I'm going to take one of my logos and do the safe area. So I'm going to use this guy. I just drag him over here and I can create my logo. So here is my stacked logo. Let's do a safe area for my stacked logo. Let me show you what that's going to look like. So here we are in Illustrator. I'm going to draw my illustration based on that. First things first, I want to look at my logo and say, okay, what element from this logo can I use to create a spacer that will go all the way around my logo and stay consistent no matter what scale it's at, whether if it's a billboard or down to a business card. So that's why we don't use measurements. We don't use inches. We use actually an element from the logo. So I like to use an element that's closest to a square as possible. So either a perfect circle or a square is the ideal. We're lucky because Delta Boy has an O. An O is really good, or an M. Both are good. I like the O a little better than the M. So I'm going to use the O. And so I'm going to take my O and look at that and measure my O. And I'm going to do that by, I'm going to zoom in here so you can really see what I'm doing. I'm going to take this O, a couple things. I'm going to go to Window, Stroke. Move this over. I don't need this right now. And I'm going to make the stroke sit on the inside so I can see the edges. And I'm going to make this be like a half point. Oopsie. There we go. And so I can create a box that is truly lining up with the edge of my letter form. And I think I have Snap to Pixel on. I'm going to take that off because it's making this kind of janky. If you ever find that you're trying to move something and it's moving in like spurts, you just want to go to view and make sure that it's not snapping to pixel or grid or point or glyph. Sometimes we want that, but right now we don't. All right, so I'm making a square that is matching my circle perfectly, my O perfectly. Okay, so now I have my measurement. And so I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to first take my straight line and I'm going to hold my shift key down so I make a straight line. And I'm going to make it on the baseline of my logo. And I'm going to make this, you do want your stroke menu on because we're going to make it a dashed line. And I'm going to make it like a more of a like a 3-point maybe dash line. So it's pretty small dashes. And I'm going to copy it. I'm holding the Command Shift Option or Alt key down. If you're on a PC, it's Alt. And I'm going to make it on both the top edge, right? And then I'm going to take both of these, and they are dotted. You just can't see it because we're blown out. We're kind of blown out. Copy, paste, and now I'm going to rotate them vertical and align it to the outer edges of basically kind of squaring off my logo. Okay, so now I have like a square up tight against my logo. So now I'm going to take this measurement I'm using the O, and I'm going to use that as a measuring tool to bring my next line down. There's that. Pull this out of the way. I'm using this as my measuring tool. This is my height of my O. Now I'm going to rotate it so it stays at the height because it's not a perfect square. I want to keep using the height. Again, I'm going to take this, bring it out. Bring it out. Okay. So there is my why aren't these showing dotted? I had them dotted. Dashed. Need to be 4. I I'm sorry, I thought they were there. I think that's because I had 3, 0. I meant to do. Let's do 5 and 5. There we go. Now they're showing dotted. All right. Okay, so there is my safe area. So in other words, we use the term X because X is, in other words, we've created X and we're going to show people, again, we're teaching people how to use this mark. So we're saying these are X. And then to create X, we used the O, and I'm just indicating what letter or what I took out of the design so that they understand what we're doing. It's not going to be a dashed line for this. This is going to be O, and then I'm going to say what it is. I'm going to say it's the I'm going to make this 8 point. The height of the letter O is the measurement used for the clear space. And therefore, I'm communicating how we got to the clear space. And I like to put like an X on either side. And we're indicating this X is equaling this O, and it's the height of the O. And we can even be more specific if we want, but I mean, with like illustrating an arrow and everything, but I feel like just saying what it is. And so this is my clear space. And when I go into InDesign, I need this illustration to add to my design. So I'm going to take this and add this design. I'm going to group it. And I'm going to, I'm going to do one other thing. You can add this copy here in InDesign. You don't have to add it in Illustrator, and sometimes you might want to. So that's up to you if you want to keep it in this illustration or not, that information. You might want to keep that all in InDesign. I'm going to leave that up to you. But I've grabbed everything. I'm going to copy it and put it right here in my library. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. And so here it's going to be stacked, clear space, illustration. Okay, so there it's in my, right there, it's in there. And I would do the exact same thing for my horizontal. So I would bring that down here and do the same thing. And I already have, you know, these kind of lines drawn and stuff. So I can either, I'd probably just for ease of use, go ahead and create another artboard. Oh, let's create another one and put the colors on one. And then, you know, I'm just creating the pieces and things I need for my my brand guidelines. And it helps just to kind of get all of this stuff done and ready to go so that as soon as I'm ready, make this a little smaller, and then I can just, you know, grab some of this stuff and, oops. Do the same. You're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to take the O once again, use the O, be consistent. Let me close that. And same thing, I'm going to make the O, make a box around it, determine the scale that I'm going to use. I want to go inside and I'm going to make this smaller so I can see what I'm doing. Measure my O. This is just really a measurement box to simplify things for me, get done quicker. There it is. No big deal. And then the same thing, grab my line, start drawing. Now here, the circle is bigger than my type, so I'm going to be putting my line down here at the bottom of the circle. There's my dashed line. And it's going to be at the top of the circle, right? And then I'm going to pull, take these two lines, copy, paste, and keep building. There's that side. There's that side. And then grab my space, grab my spacer box and start building. Oops. Okay, why is it not? Am I not hitting the right keys? There we go. Not hitting the right keys. Oops. So I'm holding down the Shift, Option or Alt, and Command key to make a copy of the line. And then I'm going to move these guys over a little bit so it's more equally spaced. Okay. And then you can see my verticals are way longer than I need. So I'm going to just pull those guys down a little bit. Same on this side. Grab them, pull them down a little bit. I am holding my Shift key down every time I'm making some of these changes. It just makes it quicker. Again, I'm rotating my square so that I'm using the height of my O. All right, and then I am going to draw a couple lines just on either side of my O to tell my viewer that this is what I am using for X. And so just like I did here, I'm gonna grab a copy of my X here so I keep them the same size, consistent. And then I'm gonna grab this information and copy it. No need to retype it. I've already done it. Pull it over here. And there you go, we're done. So it doesn't take that much time. It's just teaching your viewer how to keep space. And what we use this for is, in other words, if we have a body of copy, so let's say I'm designing a brochure and I have a blocks of copy, I know my copy can only start right there. I can't go right up against a logo with my box of copy, right? Or my headline. I have to start, nothing can go closer than this to my logo, whether it's a box of copy, whether it's, let's pretend this is a picture. Picture can't go closer to the logo than this. Or let's say it's a headline. And right? That's the closest it can go to my copy. Now that'll also be true for your tagline. Your tagline cannot go closer than your safe area to your copy. So that's as close as that can go. And I probably wouldn't want my tagline bigger than my logo anyway. So I'd probably want it to be maybe down here. So yeah, so this would be kind of probably where I would align my tagline. Okay. Questions. Let's pause here for a minute. Those are the two you're going to need. You're going to need your stacked and your horizontal.